hatred and trapped by fear. I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I'll slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman who keeps beauty down, smacked on the ass when they're squalling and wet. Never forgets, never forgets that he's a prisoner. Can't you hear my peace and love? Welcome again to the NEPPC podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with former political prisoner
Abdul Haq Islam.
Today, as we begin the beginning of Black History Month, we start off by giving our condolences out to the family of Tyree Nichols, the latest victim of police brutality. Today is his funeral, so our hearts go out to the family. We ask you to share with 10 people, and let's utilize this platform as a way where we have discussions about what we need to do regarding the current situation of oppressed people. We talk about political prisoners, but to really respect political prisoners is to continue carrying out their work. So today's topic, or today's theme is the history of police brutality and the history of political prisoners. First, we have to know, how did the police originate? What's the origin of police? Right? When you do research, you find out that they started off as slave patrols. This was about in the 1700s, and their responsibility was to capture runaway slaves. And they used excessive force, and the objective was to make sure other people would not be inspired, and to make sure that these slaves are dealt with in the most harsh way possible. And I think that that's need to be understood, because when you look at a society that's built off slavery, or thriving off that type of slavery at that time, then you're realizing that this is an oppressive system. So now you look at the political prisoner. The political prisoner is a freedom fighter. A political prisoner is addressing oppressive conditions, and in doing so is on a direct collision course with the police. And I think that has to be understood, because once you identify the origins of one and you understand the origins of another, then you understand why you have the conditions that you have. And I think that needs to be understood, because as we start Black History Month, we have to start understanding the importance of it so we become empowered, we become fueled, so we understand that our children who represent our future are informed and understand what they need to do in regarding taking the leadership position in the direction of their people. So that's very important that we have these discussions. And I give it to Abduha Islam.
Peace and love, brothers and sisters. As Brother Frank said, we begin Black History Month in a mode of fight. Um, Indeed, America was built on violence, and for us, history must carry a great educational meaning. The enemy, has chosen history as an area of attack. The enemy knows the power of history. That's why we must take this history as our own weapon in our hands. The enemy wants to destroy the value that history has in motivating us to stand up and knowing the reality, of this situation and defining our own reality. As Martin Luther King said, America being the greatest purveyor of violence in the history of the world. So we see our brother, Thomas Nichols, being the video being shown all over America. So the enemy must try to control the narrative of what this means. So we don't care what Biden says about it. What's important is what we say about it. These Negro police officers were Americans. Their spirit was imbued, you understand, with the culture of America. The culture of America has always been to oppress, to murder, to terrorize, and all throughout history, some of our most disgraceful people have been the Uncle Toms, the Coons, the Black Sambos. Sometimes you can get some rhythm with Uncle Tom, but you ain't had nothing come with Sambo. Sambo will murder you, will torture you for the slave master. As evidence in the Fannie Lou Hamer situation, when the police commanded a coon, a Black Sambo Negro, to beat her. And he did, with great glee, So this is how the race traders have acted toward us through the centuries, And so, among other things, this incident must put Black people on the move against producing race traders, Uncle Toms, coons, those who collaborate with the enemy and enjoy it, you understand? Those who feel that they are inferior to the enemy, who go around saying, Yassa boss, who will lick the sidewalk, will lick the gutter in front of the enemy, will suck the enemy's socks, will sniff the enemy's behind, you understand, and say, Yassa boss, and do anything the enemy tells them to do. That's who these Negroes was, you understand? So, among other things, this incident that begins Black History Month must push us on the move to being conscious Black people. And this incident is exactly the reason why groups like the Black Liberation Army and the Black Panthers existed. In a conversation with a Black Liberation Army leader, who I don't want to, say his name without his permission, said that the reason the Black Liberation Army existed is because police murder Black people and get away with it. And so, this incident that we are vibing on right now is a prime example of the systemic nature, you understand, of what we live in. You understand? A brutal system that terrorizes, that rapes robs and pillages, and goes around the world robbing resources. You understand? Murdering people. You understand? Employing the idea of white supremacy, that the white is superior to black, and that they have a right. You know, the brother just read a thing where dude said that he swore for God. You know, like God is down and dirty.
Yeah, he was
with
part
white
of the slave.
supremacy.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
part of the slave patrol,
that
and
God is
that
part
was
of the
his
slave
oath,
patrol, right?
and that
That
was
was
his
his
oath.
oath.
Yes, that
God,
was his oath
God.
to do God's will. And I think that has to be understood because that's a severity of the situation. So people who are signing up to police to be police officers, whether they're white or black, are making that oath and that commitment. And now they're trying to continue to live a certain lifestyle because they were told that okay, now as a police officer they're gonna make X amount of money. So now only thing that they're doing is carrying out orders, and they're not even questioning whether the deeds or the orders are humane or correct. And or one thing that I wanted to bring up is that Ben Crump, the attorney for the family of the victim of Tyree Nichols, said when asked in the interview, "Is there anything that people can do?" And I guess they was asking him this question regarding a confrontation with police, and he said that there was nothing that they could do, and that in fact, if they did want to do something to make sure that their cell phone was operating, that it was charged, so they could record their encounter. And we are having an opposing view. There's always something that you can do. There's a history of resistance, and that's why we have to know the names of people like Nat Turner. We have to know the names of people like Denmark Vesey and people like Marcus Garvey and
From our
people like
history.
Malcolm X and
From our history,
yes,
right.
because from our history we have a
Yeah.
history of doing something. We have a
Yeah.
history of standing up. And when we look at the history of the Black Panther Party, we're looking at a history of resistance. We're looking at people who took control of their community and they said that we don't like what's going on, therefore we're going to produce something that's going to counter to what we don't like going on, and we want to produce our own reality and what we think is correct, which is self-determination. And they would have patrols of the police, and they would watch the police. So the people was policing the police, and that was doing something. So when we say that we can't do something, we don't want to approach the situation like that. We don't want to approach the situation from being defeated. You can get organized. You could stay organized. You could do a historical research of your history of resistance, and you can mimic that, and you could bring it up to date and make sure that whatever tools you need to do that and accurately is utilized. We have cell phones. We have various forms of technology that could put us in a position to make sure that we secure our own interests. So we should never begin by saying we can't do anything. And we had a critic around what we are doing, our platform. And one thing that our platform is about advocating for political prisoners and showing them the highest respect. And the way we show our political prisoners the highest respect is we carry out their work. If their work was about self-determination, then we continue to do that, because this is more than just us coming here and talking. We're doing work in the street, and when you see us in the street, you can engage us. And we understand what our political prisoners were doing, and we understand to really respect them as to continue their work. So that's exactly what we're doing, and that's why we ask that people who view this program share with 10 people and ask those 10 people to share it so we could amplify our platform. And we accept all criticism and we accept all challenges to do better. So one thing that I applaud that person who had the criticism is that could continue to keep it coming, challenge me to do better, and accept challenges as well, because we all in this, whether we like it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not. And being on the point of criticism, I want to let everybody know that I finally wrote that letter to Rochelle McGee. I wrote it and I asked him if he had any views that he wanted to share with viewers. So I'm waiting for a response. So I just wanted to follow up what I said on the last two episodes about fighting political prisoners, is we don't want to tell you to do something that we're not doing. So that's very important for me to do what I said I was going to do, and to make sure that I'm telling others to do something that I follow up on what I need to do. And that's very important. So I was looking at a book on affirmations, And one of the affirmations said, acceptance of prevailing standards often means we have no standards of our own. And that was from a
Mm.
Gene Toomer. And that was on the issue or the topic of self determination. And I think that's very important because if we don't stand for what we know is correct for us, then we're accepting what somebody else says that we need to stand for. And that's a serious problem because they don't have our same experiences. And therefore, we're allowing them to take us on a course of our own destiny. So it's very serious to take your self-determination very serious. And it's very serious to look at our political prisoners the as models and images of what we need to follow because our political prisoners are so unselfish. They are so courageous and brave that we have to bring them home. They need to be with their families. They need to bring them be amongst us. As you see, we need more. We need more thinkers, right? We still got to deal with police brutality. We need our political prisoners home to help us organize, to help us understand what we need to do and to get done. So, my brother,
Yes,
on the
sir. Yes,
issues
sir.
of us writing to our political prisoners and our political prisoners needed on the issue of police brutality, what do you think our political prisoners can contribute when we talk about
Well,
political
brother,
brutality?
we talked about fighting, we talked about winning. You talked about an aspect of some of our brothers and sisters feeling that, why do we keep on? Why are we doing this? Futility, in that spirit. But the spirit of revolutionaries is that we're going to win. As members of the December 12th movement, when we sit in there, we sit in an atmosphere of fire. You understand? People are on fire with self-determination. You understand? With confidence that what we are going to do, we're going to be successful. People who are beaten down with the enemy, like you said, the enemy will tell you to accept your situation, to accept what he lays out for you. You understand? We say no. We lay out, we determine what our future is going to be, what our destiny is going to be, what life is going to be for us. You understand? And those of us who've not been beaten down, whose spirit has not been destroyed, we have a will to win. You understand? Within our hearts. You understand? And so when vast numbers of people like this come together, you understand? You have a movement of people. You understand? You have a revolutionary soul, a revolutionary spirit. And when you have members, you understand, of the family, you understand, who have lost the will, has lost that confidence to fight. When they look toward generalship, generalship is on
Yes.
fire.
Yes.
Generalship is steel. You
Yes.
understand what I'm saying? They say steel in the generalship, power and strength. You understand? And great will to win. You understand? This becomes the mood and the spirit of the mass. And so, with the leadership of people like our political prisoners, with the will and understanding and the mentality of our political prisoners, you understand, we as a people have the ability and the strength and the determination to stand up against a very, very evil empire that was built on violence and mass murder. You understand?
Yes.
And this type of leadership is very, very necessary, very, very valuable. I want you to read something, since we talk about political prisoners, I want to read something from one of our foremost political prisoners, Mumia Abu Jamal, in a book called Murder Incorporated. You understand? This is a book that is very, very good for Black History Month, which tells the history of this enemy. Here's one he talks about on the topic of police brutality. He talks about from local cop to Rambo. Since the late 1960s, the militarization of America's civilian police force has grown in unison with the expansion of the national security state, beginning in the city of Angels after the Watts Rebellion. In the 1960s, infamous LAP Inspector in Chief Goon developed an elite police squad trained in military tactics. He named the unit SWAT, Special Weapons Attack. The acronym was softened to Special Weapons and Tactics. At about the same time, ex-Marine Charles Whitman perched himself on the University of Texas clock tower and opened fire for 96 minutes, killing 15 people. This massacre increased the call for a proliferation of SWAT teams across the country. In San Francisco, the capital of the late 60s counterculture, mafia-induced and testosterone-laden Mayor Joe Alito took great pleasure in his violent battle against what the SCPD called Hippieville, otherwise known as Haight-Ashbury. He gave the SFPD fearsome tactical squad full reign to run a war zone, and the kids living there as the enemy. This tactical squad, high on its own testosterone and unhinged authority, revealed in chasing down student protesters at San Francisco and hate histories and beating them at will. So that is saying that the police, this is a model for police cross country, you understand, to see themselves as being in Afghanistan or Iraq somewhere, or Vietnam, you understand, and to become very, very violent, you understand, against the people, And as Mamiya says earlier in the book, they had a program where they could predict who would commit crimes, saying it was black people who would commit crimes. So the police were not looking for black people to terrorize. And like I say, they saw themselves as being at war, literally, with the people, and dark-skinned people being the victim, who they would terrorize, you understand, would put fear in their hearts, would create a situation where they would not stand up for their rights. We know that's the history of America, and the police were the main instrument, and still are, the police still have this violent culture. You
Right.
understand? They and, I've even heard them bragging about, in a very, very excited and loving way of how they terrorize and beat people.
One of the things that I'm sorry, you was talking?
And so we can understand why we need people to stand up and defend us, and oftentimes our defenders become political prisoners. And as people who value ourselves, who have dignity, we must stand up and demand the freedom of our political prisoners and prisoners of war.
Yes, that's very interesting. That's very on point. And one of the things that I wanted to add to that is that, they had this elite unit that killed our brother Tyree Nichols called Scorpio.
Scorpion, right?
Right, and I remember those elite units like that, or like that rather, or like when I was in Lower East Side growing up there, they had TNT. Yeah, and then in Atlanta, they had the
SWAT.
Red Dog.
Yeah, the Red Dog.
Right, so these were corrupt units, and I think that they were very aggressive. So police are aggressive. So now you have even a more aggressive unit. What's going to come out of that? Especially if you're targeting black people and people who are oppressed, and we have to look at that. And as a people, as a community, we have to demand to know what's going on in the police with the police. Right? Because why wasn't the community informed about this elite group? Why don't we have any say-so on this elite group? Because obviously the police have their own agenda, and we as working people, we're struggling for food, clothing, and shelter. So we're struggling with that. And we're on two different pages. And that's why we have to look at the origins of the police, and we have to look at what our political prisoners are and why is it that they will be on this collision course, because they are carrying out two different agendas, and we have to be mindful of that. We have to see ourselves as being part of the process in which solution takes place, and that process means that you have to commit yourself to being organized. What does it mean to be organized? It means to be disciplined, to be focused, to make a commitment to a certain idea, to be where you need to be at a particular time, to carry out a particular agenda. And that's all that it means. It's not complicated. And I think that we need to understand that, but we have to come from a position of making sacrifices. And our political prisoners show us that at this your highest level of your development, you're ready to make the supreme sacrifice needed to carry out that agenda or that idea that is beneficial to your group, and beneficial to the interests of the collective. We are parents, some of us are even grandparents, and we want our children to be safe. Just imagine, Tyree Nichols, 29 years old. I have a son, 18 years old. So Tyree Nichols is only 11 years older than my son. So me as a parent is bothered by that. I know my brother right here, he's a parent, so he's bothered by that. So we take that personal, right? But our personal business and our personal concerns must be connected to our political concerns. Our political concerns being that we are concerned about having power. Power makes sure that you control your own destiny. And we have to struggle for that. Nobody's going to give us nothing. They don't won't give us anything today as they didn't in the past. We have to come together. We got to get organized. We got to be committed. And being committed means that you're going to do something consistent until the desired outcome is met. And I think that that's why we have to write our political prisoners. We have to exchange ideas with them. I know when I wrote Rochelle McGee, I told him the podcast, and I told him if he had a message for the viewers that he can give it to me and I give it to them. That allows me to be more creative when a political prisoner gives me actual an instruction or some instructions in ways that they want their ideas to be put out. I have the idea of once he gets writes me the letter or the community of Queensbridge, I'll make sure it's posted up so everybody can see it. This way they could get informed. For those of us who are teachers, right, make sure you spend some time on our political prisoners. To those people who are in schools that are named after former political prisoners, it's only right that you take up the cause of political prisoners. Yes, there are political prisoners in the United States, and there have been history of political prisoners since the first slave said, so-called slave rather, said no to his so-called master. That was the first political prisoner. And the indigenous people of this land who were brutalized and who were removed from their land, and those who resisted, those were the first political prisoners. So we have to understand the long history of political prisoners. We have to understand the need to show solidarity with our political prisoners because they sacrificed for us, and we have to bring them home. Make sure you write to a political prisoner. We provided that address. If you have another political prisoner that you would like to write to, please contact us. 347-679-3936, and I'll make sure I get you that address. Be patient with them to respond. Some of them are getting a whole bunch of letters, so they're wait for your time for them to get back to you regarding responding to you, and make sure you respond back. Build up that relationship and take it from there. Do your part. Make sure your community understands that there are people who are fighting back, who are fought back, and because of their need for them to fight back or them fighting back, they were met with the brutality of the state, and they're currently in the condition that they're in, the predicament that they're in because of their fighting back. And I think we should applaud that. We should salute that. So, you know, once again, as we always talk about the importance of writing to a political prisoner, uh, what's the importance of a teacher or anybody who is in a position to educate somebody about political prisoner to take advantage of the opportunity?
Well, brother, black people have had a glorious history of standing up and fighting, fighting for our rights, fighting for our dignity, and these are very, very powerful concepts. And when people come together and organize, you understand, and to make these things happen, we have very, very positive outcomes. You understand? So it is important that our youth be educated on the things that we've done, the efforts that we have put forth, what we have organized, what we have created as a people, you understand, who it was the objective of the enemy to stomp us out, to stomp out our existence, you understand, to make us hear and obey and do anything they say, you understand, to strip us of our humanity, of our rights, of our self-respect. We've had very, very powerful ideas that have created movements among our people. It's very, very important that we carry it on. You talked about a brother who said that there's nothing we can do. No, we can't have ideas like that. There's nothing we can do. There's plenty that we can do. You understand? We are very, very powerful people. We are an able people. You understand? We are a resourceful, intelligent people. And we have great possibility. We have great leaders who've risen up among us, and we need more great leaders to come up from the youth. We got some geniuses out there. We got some great potential leadership among the youth, and it must come forward. These are very, very critical times, and it's a lot of work that we have to do. And that history of our people is full of sacrifices that our people have made, you understand? And that's a very, very gallant thing for people to lay everything on the line and sacrifice themselves for us, because through the sacrifice, we make gains, we make progress, and we must carry it on, carry it on into the next tradition, carry it on into the future, you understand? And we must keep a call was to call free them all.
That's right. The call is free them all, and that's what we do. So, we address everything that we needed to address in the 30 minutes that we committed ourselves to airing another important, powerful episode. We ask for those who are viewing, please make sure you encourage others to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's amplify our platform. As I told you, this is bigger than just conducting something on social media. We are out in the streets. If you see us, engage us. We provide our contact information because we want to build relationships that are strong, that are powerful, and that will get our desired outcome, which is to bring our political prisoners home. So, we'll close it the way we always been closing it. For those who tuning in, Black Power salute to you, and see you next Wednesday. And the closing words from Killer Mike.
Right on, Killer Mike.
Have to do this as well. And I have to give the credit to this idea of Miss Kathy Hughes of Radio 1. She's like, Michael, it is time that you guys organize a fund to set aside to help people who sacrifice for our freedom. Meaning, every time something happens, I hear this. Why don't the gang bangers jump up and do something for us? Why don't you kill them? You kill each other. And I say to myself, when is the last time you sent money to Assata Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Matulu Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mumia Abu Jamal or Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford or Leonard Peltier? When is the last time you made it your business to send money to a revolutionary or a hoodlum that has helped us? And until we start to do that, how can we ask these young men to be warriors? Because if they do it in the name of the hood, at least the hood gonna honor their name always. At least the hood gonna make sure at least their children got something or their mama's house is looked after. As a community, if we're going to ask people to bungee jump for us with no cord, be prepared to take care of them when they get a life sentence. Be prepared to look after their families. See, I don't mind the work getting done, but let's take care of the workers. Let's stop asking more out of people than we would do for ourselves. So what I'd like to see, my dream thing, is to see 1 million people from the culture dedicate $10 a month. That's $10 million a month, $120 million a year toward taking care of civil rights leaders who have worked on our behalf and are elderly now and don't have to take care of themselves, like Rosa Parks, whose rent was paid by the owner of Little Caesars Pizza. We should have had a fund to make sure that she never had to worry about that again in her life. We should have a fund that makes sure money makes it to Assata Shakur, and Matulu Shakur has legal representation and food, and Leonard Peltier, who has diabetes in jail, can get insulin and taken care of. And until we start doing it, $10 a month is about what you pay on a couple fast food restaurant visits. So if 1 million of us do that for the rest of our life, look at how well we'll be taking care of the people that we're asking to sacrifice on our behalf.
I agree. And recently